have so many issues at the moment with school, with the discipline that goes on in school, with the language that they use around discipline. Like, honestly, my secondary school that Freddie goes to, they literally call it an isolation room. And at the junior school, some teachers even have, like, you know, like the sad cloud. So you're literally saying you're in isolation or you are bad because you feel sad. Like, it's so crazy. So I wanted to just have a chat with you guys about it. I've not had this conversation with anyone, and I really wanted just to see what you guys thought, to hear from you, to hear better ways of doing it, see if you think it's an issue, to see if you're like totally cool with it. So I thought I'd do that today. I thought I'd just frizz my hair and chat about school. That's the day's plan. So first, it's really important as well that this isn't a video about teachers. So teachers, I reckon, like us as parents, you know, we know that we're struggling a lot with maybe the hardest time of parenting in so many years, because we've got the internet to deal with, which is great for our kids. Like, they'll grow up in a totally brave new world, but we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know even what jobs they're going to have. Education's totally different. We've had COVID. We've also got all this like new scientific information about the frontal cortex not really developing until their 20s, so they can't make kind of decisions rationally. We know that our kids now are just acting on emotion. And we're also like terrified about mental health. You know, we know so much about our kids' mental health now, and our tweens and our teens' mental health, and it's just a scary time to be a parent, and a tough time to be a teacher, I'm absolutely sure. And the school system just feels so, at the moment, all I hear, it just doesn't work, that it's old-fashioned, it's totally out of touch with how we raise children today and how we live and work. But then also I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd love to homeschool, be one of those homeschooling mums, and I've always thought I could probably do it. But then parents need to work, like, and adults need their own lives, and that's not a system for everyone either. So what can we do, I guess, is what I've been trying to think about to balance my ethos, which is that discipline is about teaching. I don't punish at home. I also don't dangle rewards. Like, I do, that's not true. I use that one more often to motivate, but it would be a logical reward, for instance. So if let me try and think, if they do some work around the house, they would get money for that, for example. I think one of the biggest sort of headlines of this is, if comparison is the thief of joy, and we've found that so much more, and we hear so much more about how that affects mental health with social media, then surely school and tests and testing is the total killer of joy. How can we expect people to have strong self-esteem and feel courageous and bold in themselves and truly appreciated for who they are and all that good stuff in a system where you are tested against each other? You're often marked against each other in terms of like your personalities, like you're the good kid, you're the bad kid, you're pigeonholed, and you're in a system with 30 other people trying to do the same thing and learn at the same speed. Not even 30 other people, a class of 30 in a year group of hundreds of groups of 30. So it's a really tough time. I'm stressing myself out to navigate and to balance, because at home I don't use punishment or reward. I've totally stripped that out of the house. I just find that that is, in terms of to control their behaviour. We do discipline. So I do have discipline, we have house rules, but they are for them and for me, and we discuss them. And I don't understand why schools don't have so much of an emphasis on their discipline. So when I looked around schools, if you ask, you know, what are your kind of protocols for discipline, you don't hear about it as much. It's not one of the first questions we're asking, and I actually think that is something that could be a really good shift if you're looking around a school, or if you're not sure about your school, to go in and ask them, because that really is asking, how are you going to support my child when they're having a big feeling? How are you going to support all of the children in this school when they are not keeping up with the class, or they're having a social problem, or they're having a really big feeling? How are you going to support them through that? Because that's really what discipline should be about. And isolation rooms, no. Sad clouds, no. Like, it's literally like the opposite of what we should be doing, in terms of, if somebody is showing antisocial behaviour as a child, is the best way of them developing social behaviour to be cut away from it, to be told, if you behave like that, you're stripped of that privilege of friendship and compassion and your peer group. No, it needs to be that that is also a massive thing that we're teaching. So Oh, that was a little rant, sorry. But anyway, I wanted to talk about the good and positive things I found with school, because my kids do go to school. I absolutely love the junior school they go to. I found a really, really special school that I feel really works. When Finn started school, he was in Senko, but my kids don't have those types of challenges. So I know as well, like, there's just so many things that we have to think about when I'm talking about this topic. So please take this as just one experience and a conversation starter, not a how-to. I'm super happy that schools exist, and I think that people who in society choose to be teachers is like such a special thing. Like, and people surely go into teaching because they want to work with children and they're interested in developing their minds, and so teaching is brilliant. And if we imagine a world without schools, it's a terrible world, and everyone should have a right for an education. There's so many people around the world fighting to have school and have the privilege and the ability to have an education. So I'm really proud that we do have our kind of school system, but I think that there are just some issues around discipline and how punishment is used in such a way that pushes children to the bottom, rather than the realization or the twist, which is, we're here to serve you and educate you. It's like, you're here getting a privilege from me of my wisdom, and that's how the punishment and the discipline side of things make children feel. So really it's about, I think, is to balance it out. So ages ago I talked about how I quit homework and saw my kids get so much happier. When I started school, and they would just send all this homework home, and we were a really high performing school in Richmond, which is like one of the top school boroughs in London, so they worked with them really, really, really hard. And Freddie had so much homework, and I just did it. And you know, if he was not getting those spellings, we would go over and over and over them and stuff like that. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I am totally dragging something that he's not good at all the way through his day. And the idea that you would come home from work and not be able to leave work at work and home at home is really awful. Like, we've all had those experiences as working mums where you have to come home, put the baby to bed and go back online, and it's not healthy. And so it's not healthy for kids as well. So I just quit homework and I just said, look, I'm not doing this anymore. And the best thing I've learned is that investing in what they're good at. So we quit all the homework. Freddie was really good at art and really into art, and we spent all his time after school doing art, and which was because it was the thing he was the most good at. So we did art clubs. So always, and now I've seen this quote going around, which I'm so thrilled about. It was like, if your child is failing in maths and thriving in music, don't book a maths tutor, book a music tutor. Because I started to say to Freddie, like, school is about trying everything, because no one's good at all of it. Some people are. Finn, he's actually pretty all-rounded, but no one's good at everything, and it's about trying to whittle down what your interests are, what your passions are. Because when you get to higher education, it is super fun, and you can choose what you study. And I studied philosophy, and I absolutely loved it because I was deep diving into one subject I was passionate about. So rather than saying you need to get all the grades across, and I expect this on everything, it's kind of going, okay, well, which are you kind of feeling that you enjoy more, focusing on those a bit more. And that's kind of how I'm helping my secondary school child to kind of get through this sort of testing period. It's not that you're failing in that topic, it's that that's not for you. Like, he's really bad at languages, which is surprising. So bad at languages, like, actually cracked me up how bad it was. But he absolutely thrives in history. He loves history. So I'm like, great, you don't have to speak in French, but you can learn about history. That's absolutely fine. When I am at home with the kids, with the younger ones, we get like sent a homework grid, and I thought this was a really, really good idea. So we get a grid for the term, and they can pick and choose from that grid what they do. And I really like that, rather than them all having to do the same thing. I don't know if your school does the same, or if that's something that isn't everyone, but we didn't have that at the old school, so they can choose what they want to do. So Finn will do all the maths ones, Evelyn will do a drawing one, and we just have the grid up in the house. And when they want to do something, when they're a bit bored, when they will get the paper out, I'm like, oh look, I've printed the maths sheet, just sit and do that if you want to. But it's not a sort of pressured homework time or homework space with the little ones. With Freddie, obviously it is, because he's at secondary and everything's online, and I really try to get him to understand that I am there to support and teach, not test him. So I don't like the style of it when somebody does the work and then the parent checks it. I just think that that kind of puts us again in a bit of a tricky role because we're not always knowing what the answers are. Hands up. But also I know that that really frustrates Freddie. He immediately will not come anywhere near me with his homework and hide it from me. So I said to him yesterday, we had some homework to do, and I said, let me do it with you. I'm really good. It was this Vox Pop, my favourite. I was like, I'll help you with this Vox Pop. I'm really, really good at that. And if he's feeling kind of tired as well, like he wanted to just jot it on paper, so I'll type it up for you. So in his moments where he's feeling low and tired and his low motivation weeks and nights, I will step in a bit more, not do the work for him, but do it with him and support him, because I think like as an adult, we're not going to be motivated all the time to do every single task that we're given. And if our sort of person in our family can be, how can I help you? What job can I take off your hands to make it easier for you or do it with you? And for him, it just happened to be the typing it up. I was like, cool, like let's sit and do that. And it's no biggie. So I sort of try to, with the little ones as well, remember I'm there to teach, not to test all the time. But I think with reading, I took it really, really gently and slowly, and Finn still doesn't want to read books. He's just not a storybook reader, whereas Evelina already absolutely loves them, and they're all just so different, whereas Finn loves Top Trumps. So learning reading through Top Trumps, learning his numbers through Top Trumps would just really work for us. Then I would just be like, put that in your book. We did Top Trumps, we did numbers and letters with Pokemon cards yesterday, and it's a sort of valid way of doing it and balancing things out. Then duvet days. So I can't remember when we chatted about this. We talked about, should we give our kids duvet days when they're finding school too much? And my thing is yes, like if they're having an emotionally difficult day, sometimes you just wake up and you can see it and you know, oh, it's not going to happen. Now I'm in a real privileged position because I'm a full-time mum and I work from home, so they can, so I totally get, so that's coming from a place of, and that's not always possible, but I think when we can, and it comes from a memory when I was at secondary school, and I remember I had a day and I felt really overwhelmed. I think there was stuff going on with my friends, I was behind in my homework, and I really just felt miserable, and my mum was like, stay home, have a day off. And I couldn't believe my luck. And she went off to work and I stayed at home, and I was home alone, and it was like my whole body just get to like calm down. I felt much more ready to cope again the next day because she gave me that breathing day and I just needed it. So I think that use them sparingly, but I'm very much for them. I would say that my husband not so much. He's this type of get up and go no matter, you know, what you're feeling or anything. He's kind of just like, you've got to go, and that's how he was raised. So we probably butt heads on that one a bit, but I think it's really important that, you know, if we aren't supporting and teaching them about their emotional needs being important, that is something they don't learn at school as much. So that's what they can learn from us at home, to listen to their feelings and listen to their body. And if a body's telling you you need to rest, oh God, I sound like my little boy's watching this, he'll be like, Mummy, when you know it's genuine, then go for it. So I feel like this has been a massive waffle, but I just wanted to have the chat and raise a conversation and not be like 5 ways to balance school and gentle parenting, because I don't know. I'm doing it my way, and I'm just really wanted to find out from you more and from teachers, mainly about the words that we use. And I think the other thing I need to say is that I think schools have a really tough time of getting parents to come in and speak to them and say what they want. And I'm on the PTA now for the junior school, which is such a lovely school. It's juniors, and still like we cannot get parents to go to these like meetings and chat about school. So we can't really complain when we're not saying much. So it would be good as well to maybe think about how we get to chat to school, and I need to put my own words into action there with the secondary and go in and have that conversation with them. I'm going to do it now. I will tell you what they say about isolation rooms. I feel like the one who shouldn't complain because my child doesn't go to isolation room, and then I feel like I'm the one being like, but you know, I've got this crazy wacky hair today, so maybe today's the day to embrace my wacky, embarrassing mum mode. Right, who knows what we will get to in the comments below, but I cannot wait to chat to you. And do hit subscribe if you like this type of waffly chat about school and stuff. But my channel's all about like a lot of gentle parenting chats, and some of them are probably more advice than this. Bye guys.